In an unfolding chapter of US trade policy, recent developments have captured national attention as President Donald Trump's administration announces a significant policy reversal, leaving many analysts and market watchers to reconsider earlier forecasts. The decision, an unexpected 90-day pause on previously announced tariffs, along with a substantial reduction in reciprocal tariffs, is prompting renewed debates over strategy, consistency, and the broader economic implications for the nation. This report meticulously examines the policy shift, its origins, and the ripple effects felt throughout both domestic and international arenas. The original intent behind the tariff impositions was clear: to recalibrate America's trade relationships and force negotiations on terms deemed more favorable to US interests. The administration's decision to deploy tariffs as both a bargaining chip and a deterrent against what it characterized as unfair practices by trading partners marked a bold, albeit contentious, approach. However, as trade tensions escalated, questions emerged about the long-term consequences for strategic alliances and the stability of global economic interactions. A noteworthy moment came during a National Republican Congressional Committee fundraiser, where President Trump, in his sharply tailored tuxedo, offered a candid glimpse into his thinking and the inner workings of his negotiations. At the event, the president provided an off-the-cuff account of his ongoing discussions with international leaders. He described the interactions with foreign counterparts in terms that implied both urgency and a degree of coercion, portraying these nations as eager to broker deals and ostensibly resorting to flattery to secure advantageous terms. His comments painted an image of diplomatic pressure tactics, where the president insinuated that even vital strategic relationships could be reduced to transactional maneuvers if the economic benefits, such as potential agricultural exports from India, were tangible. Adding to the intrigue was the president's recent decision to hit the proverbial applause button on his tariff strategy. Not long after unveiling his tariff chart, famously marked by its dramatic tone and bold proclamations, the president reversed course. He introduced a 90-day pause, during which the reciprocal tariff was to be significantly lowered from its prior 10% rate effective immediately. This move represents a stark departure from earlier assurances and raises questions about the internal policy calculus guiding these decisions. In a post on his preferred social media outlet, the president elaborated on his rationale. He argued that China's apparent lack of respect toward the US markets warranted a tit-for-tat measure, a tariff increase to 125%. Yet, concurrently, he justified authorizing a 90-day pause and a simultaneous reduction in the reciprocal tariff rate. The language used was uncharacteristically fluid, blending economic policy with impromptu rhetoric that defied the strict precision typically expected in trade negotiations. Herein lies the heart of the controversy. The president's move appears to be an exercise in tactical flexibility, where short-term market signals override a consistent, long-term policy narrative. The immediate reaction in the financial markets has been nothing short of extraordinary. Within hours of the announcement, observers noted a dramatic surge in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, with some indices rebounding by well over 2,200 points. This swift market uplift signals that investors, at least temporarily, have embraced the administration's recalibration of its trade stance. The robustness of the stock market response suggests that market participants viewed the policy pause as a remedy to lingering economic uncertainties, especially in light of prior market jitters attributed to the aggressive tariff strategy. Yet, despite the upbeat reaction on Wall Street, this dramatic pivot raises essential questions about the strategic underpinnings of the tariff policy itself. Many critics contend that the policy reversal was less about sound economic reasoning and more about managing the president's political image. During a conversation with some close aides and prominent media personalities, the president maintained that flexibility was vital in a dynamic economic landscape. He employed metaphors that likened navigating trade walls to finding unconventional pathways, suggesting that sticking dogmatically to one course could hinder progress. Such rhetoric, while evocative, fuels skepticism among experts who argue that these analogies mask a deeper inconsistency between the president's campaign promises and his current actions. A critical facet of the debate centers on the president's overarching vision for American manufacturing and technological leadership. The initial policy was touted as a means to rejuvenate domestic production, repatriate manufacturing jobs, and forge a new era of economic prosperity. Proponents pointed to the potential for a resurgence of both traditional manufacturing and emerging advanced technologies, including artificial intelligence. However, the tangible impact on job creation remains uncertain. Critics have observed that despite bold declarations of bringing jobs back to the United States, there has been little concrete evidence, such as new factory announcements or significant shifts in corporate investments, that the policy has achieved its promised outcomes. The recent pause on tariffs, therefore, appears to be a tactical retreat rather than a definitive policy realignment. Adding another layer to the complexity, the president's spokesperson later provided ambiguous explanations for the tariff adjustments. When pressed about the reasons behind the pause, the administration referenced the need for a flexibility in a rapidly changing market environment. Such responses have only deepened the divide between supporters who view the actions as pragmatic steps in response to shifting economic realities, and detractors who perceive them as inconsistent, opportunistic moves designed to retrofit policy to current market moods. Within the halls of power and the public sphere alike, this episode has stimulated heated discussions regarding the role of temperament and personal branding in governing policy. The president's seemingly contradictory actions, ranging from a robust initial tariff strategy to a sudden, albeit strategic, pause, mirror a broader trend in which the line between assertive leadership and unpredictable policy shifts becomes increasingly blurred. This behavior has not only elicited strong praise from his loyal base, who cheer his willingness to adjust tactics on the fly, but also intense scrutiny from financial analysts and critics who question whether such adaptability undermines the reliability and coherence of America's trade policy. In revisiting the series of events, it becomes apparent that what unfolded was more than a simple reversal of tariff measures. It was a calculated, if controversial, demonstration of political maneuvering. The president's decision to temporarily halt and modify the tariff schedule appears to be driven by both external market pressures and the internal need to maintain a favorable public perception. The financial market's rapid recovery in response to the announcement may be seen as an endorsement of this flexibility, yet it simultaneously underscores the inherent volatility and unpredictability that these policy shifts introduce into the economic landscape. As the nation watches closely, analysts continue to debate the long-term implications of this move. On one hand, the policy pause could serve as a breathing space, allowing policymakers to reassess and possibly recalibrate their trade strategy in a manner that secures better outcomes for American workers and industries. On the other hand, it risks undermining the credibility of the tariff initiative and, by extension, the administration's broader economic agenda. Critics warn that such vacillations might erode the confidence of international trading partners, potentially prompting a cascade of retaliatory measures that could destabilize not only US markets, but also the global economic order. In summing up, this latest development in tariff policy embodies the complex interplay between economic strategy and political theater. President Trump's decision to impose, and then swiftly suspend, a significant component of his trade measures showcases a policymaking process influenced by both market realities and the imperatives of maintaining public favor. While the short-term market reaction has been overwhelmingly positive, the long-term consequences of this approach remain shrouded in uncertainty. As negotiations and countermeasures unfold on the international stage, the administration's ability to reconcile its ambitious promises with the practical exigencies of global trade will be rigorously tested. This investigative report has sought to delineate the key facts and critical nuances of what is arguably one of the most notable episodes in recent US economic policy. By dissecting the series of events, from the initially announced tariffs through the dramatic turnaround and ensuing market response, we hope to have provided a clear, factual, and analytical account that underscores both the policy's immediate impacts and its potentially far-reaching ramifications. Moving forward, the administration faces a crucial challenge: to sustain an economic strategy that not only addresses the pressing concerns of market stability and job creation, but also reaffirms America's long-term position as a leading global economic power. The coming weeks and months will reveal whether this policy recalibration will pave the way for a more stable and prosperous era, or if it will instead sow further uncertainty in an already volatile geopolitical landscape.